We're in Columbia, South Carolina, near Forest Acres at the Fiber Studio of Clay Burnette. His friends call this Clay World. And there's a lot that goes on here. Clay, you work both, you make both scarves and longleaf pine needle baskets. And I think one of your baskets just won a tremendous award.
It did. Last year I was recognized as Best in Show for the National Basketry Organization, which is the guild for all basket makers in the nation. So it was a very prestigious, exciting award to get.
And well deserved.
Thank you.
And of course my family for many years has been kept warm with your wonderful scarves. So let's talk a little bit about those and the process that you use and how that fits in with your overall art creation.
Well, in addition to making the pine needle baskets, I have two weaving looms, the hand looms, a 4-harness and an 8-harness loom. I've gathered various fiber materials, different cones of yarn through the years, so I have a rather tremendous inventory of fiber, and I pull those together and weave scarves. Scarves only at this point, because for me the scarves are small projects. My baskets are major time-consuming projects, but with the scarves it's a little more mindless, and I just sort of can sit down and work a few hours and produce something, whereas with the other materials it may take days, weeks, months, depending on what I do.
Of course, first you have to get pine needles in hand. How do you gather so many pine needles?
Well, I don't rake yards, and I don't buy bales of pine straw, which a lot of people think. I go directly into the woods. I gather directly from the tree, doing no damage to the tree. I just pull the needles green from the tree. I bundle them, bring them back to my studio, dry them for 4 to 6 months, and then I come back and dye them. And then after I dye, I dip them in acrylic paints for a little extra colorant, and then I start the process of weaving a basket. It's a coiling technique, so it's building row on row on row.
And one of the things that you changed early in your process was you stopped stripping the sheath at the end off. And how has that enhanced the beauty of these baskets?
Well, I added color for one thing, but then traditionally if you're making a pine needle basket, you are working with a smooth surface, and I really didn't like traditional shapes or smooth surfaces, so I decided to use that sheath of the needle as a textural element and create more abstract forms. I'm not a traditional basket maker. I'm a contemporary basket maker. I try to make shapes that I haven't seen, and I try not to duplicate something that I've made. I like the freedom of just sitting and working, and with a little manipulation I come up with a shape.
And do you sketch out the piece ahead of time, or does it just kind of come to your hands as you're manipulating the material?
I absolutely do no sketches. I can hardly write my name, so I really prefer not to know what I'm going to make. I think that takes all the fun out of it if everything is planned. And an example of that is with a scarf, I have to plan everything beforehand, so there's structure there. But with the baskets, I can just sit down and I either decide, am I going to make a round shape or an oblong shape, and then I start working. It's such a slow process that I have plenty of time to make decisions along the way as to where to add textural elements or where to elongate, where to build sides, that sort of thing.
What materials do you use to bind the coils together?
Right. I mostly use wax linen thread. But I also occasionally will use telephone wire, brass wire, or copper wire. With the brass wire and copper wire, I don't use it quite as often because it's really tough on the hands.
Oh.
And I want my hands to last a long time, so I usually use the wax linen. Wax linen is a great material to work with. It's durable, it's long lasting, it's the strongest natural fiber that we have. It locks a stitch as I'm working, so there are lots of assets. I can get it in a lot of different colors, and I can do complementary colors with when I dye and paint my pine needles.
Now you say that in order to preserve these, wax becomes involved again, because otherwise the material would deteriorate over time?
Correct. I want my baskets to last for a long time. I don't want to put a lot of time into something and find out 5 years down the road that it's beginning to fall apart. So through experimentation, I have gone through and working with the wax linen. I actually, after I complete a piece, I brush on a coating of beeswax and heat it in an oven, and at a very low temperature until the wax flows and penetrates the piece. It preserves it, keeps it from drying out and becoming brittle with age.
Well, I think this is a remarkable talent, and we appreciate your sharing your skill with us. And if people would like to know more about your baskets, is there a way they can find out about them?
I do have a website. I have a number of photographs of archive pieces and more current pieces on my website. And in addition, I have another page of the hand-woven scarves and just showing some of the process along the way.
Well, I've really enjoyed our visit with you today. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of Clay World for a small amount of time.
Well, thank you for coming.